Welcome to the All About Ability podcast. Yes, I nailed it. We've had a wee bit of a break the past few months, but we're back and we're ready to go again. And I'm really looking forward to the next few weeks in podcast. We're going to be back every Tuesday, 5 o'clock. Make sure to like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. And we're going to have some good content coming your way, so stay tuned. We're on.
We're on.
How is it? No, listen, actually, I'm terrible for intros to this. Like, I just like to start talking, and then I tend to find that 10 minutes into the conversation, people are like, who the fuck is this guy talking to? So, today we're with Juddy for the JuddyTalks podcast, or brand, as you say. And it's a pleasure to have you, mate.
No, absolute pleasure to be on, mate. I've watched a few of your podcasts. Some of them very entertaining. So I know, pleasure to be on, mate. You've had some great guests, so God knows why you want me on, but more than happy to be on, mate.
Any chance I get to talk about football plus Celtic is a bonus to me.
Yeah.
Do you know when people come in here, you're like, right, let's try and figure out if I'm interested in talking about this different subject. But football and Celtic is an absolute winner.
It's your passion, mate, innit? So.
There's all the Rangers fans just tuned out. We like you too. Stay tuned. You know what I mean? The Rangers are relevant in some ways. That'll be the last time I get mentioned at this podcast, probably. But no, you've had a lot. I've noticed you've had a lot of growth in the last sort of year or so, and you've been doing a lot of well things. Like, see, half of these things, right, I'll be honest, half of these things I don't really know what's going on.
Yeah.
Like that, but I remember like a few months ago or something, not a few months ago, a while ago. In my head, it feels like a few months ago, but it's probably like 6 or 8 months ago. Where we had a FaceTime call and you were saying you were going to Italy and you were doing all this. Went to Milan and all that, and I was like, what is going on with this guy? And I think a lot of people are trying to do what you're doing with the vlogs, but you seem to have figured out a way of breaking out for the pack somehow. So how did this all come about for you?
So just obviously, like you say, football, Celtic, passion of mine. Brought up a Celtic fan. Dad's a massive Celtic fan from a place called Croy. People who know is a real big Celtic place. And my dad will always work shifts, 4 on, 2 off, and we never get the chance to go to Celtic regularly as a kid. And I think that's why my passion for Celtic is still relevant. I'm one of the guys who gets bored of something quite easily. So I think if I went to Celtic as a kid, and when you don't really understand football, it's one of the things I would have gave up on, like everything else I did in my life, like sport, football, swimming, whatever. So it came from that, and then when I got a job, I kind of matured quite early, I'd like to say, in adult life, where I kind of moved out at 17. I got a job straight away, and your first job, you're always working weekends. So it got to a stage where I was kind of heartbroken that I wasn't actually going to Celtic games regularly. And I thought to myself, how do I come up with a plan where I can actually go and watch Celtic full time, and then obviously getting paid for it was a bonus. But that was my goal, was just to go and follow Celtic home and away like every other fan wants to do. And you know what? Like you said, it's the growth has been great. I've been very fortunate. I've been very lucky as well. We've had so many people support us, which has been great. People don't realise, but like Celtic are one of the biggest clubs in the world. There's obviously us as Celtic fans, we know, but it's so big that it's a way of life up here. I mean, I've got loads of friends down in England who play football down in England, fans down in England, and they're like, oh, I will go to the football this weekend. But up here, you work your life around football. Like, football's the first priority. It's like people won't take a job if they can't go to the football. Like, they would turn down a job. Like, that's the way it is. So that was my plan. It was more of a hobby to try and kind of say, right, well, this is what I'm doing, and it was to progress into a career. And yeah, mate, like you said, and the Milan stuff and that came about, and what a great experience. It's mad though, because when you kind of look back on it, it's been since the start of last season. The first game we done was Jablonec, and now we're full time with it, and we are flying. We're doing really, really well, and I won't say we're not, but it's about keeping my feet in the ground and enjoying what I'm doing, and hopefully everybody at home who watches us is enjoying it as well, mate.
No, it's amazing to watch, and it's even I think when a lot of these things happen when people can see someone's genuine intent to do good and want to just, because I think everyone gets a good enjoyment at watching your vlogs, and I've definitely enjoyed watching them, and I think when you can spread that sort of what the atmosphere is like, because people do vlogs, right? But not everyone does them well,
Yeah.
as you as you know. And you seem to be really focused on figuring out, making sure the quality is good and everything. So
Mhm.
you've everything's really well deserved, mate. And I think everybody's happy to see you doing well. And as you're talking about the passion for football, like you're right, people don't really acknowledge the fact how it's just everybody's life evolved around it. It's so crazy how much you can be connected to a club without even when you can't go to the games, you're devastated.
Yeah.
And this season has been great for that.
I think when you say about the whole people not doing vlogs well, I think what was important for me was having the right balance. I mean, there's the first of all, people don't like vloggers. They genuinely don't. It's the first thing when someone says a vlogger, they think, oh, he's a tit or he's a whatever.
Mhm.
I can swear on here, can't I?
Yeah, of course.
Aye,
Anyone,
so people don't really like vloggers. They think oh, he's a fucking idiot or whatever. And what I noticed, and I done quite a bit of research into it, to be honest, because I wanted to make sure I done it right. And I come from a place where my mates will tell you like straight away if they're not happy with something. So when I started the vlogs, they were like, "What are you doing? You're a tit! Like, what are you doing walking about with a camera, like a phone, recording yourself?" And the finding the right balance was important for me. So getting the right balance of myself and getting the right balance of the football and then getting the right balance of the fans, which was one of the things that I really wanted to do. So we get kids on and stuff. Like if people at home have watched the content, they'll know. But trying to get that kind of right balance. A lot of vloggers make it all about themselves. Of course, it's JuddyTalks and it's my name's involved in the brand or the channel as such. But people aren't there to just watch me, and that's know what they're about. They're there to watch Celtic. I'm just the lucky one who gets to hold the phone, the camera, interview fans and stuff like that. So finding that, which I think we've resonated with a lot of fans with, and they've been really good. And then the fact as well that one of the things that we got a lot of feedback from last year was that football's obviously very expensive to attend now. I mean, general sale tickets are about 35, 40 quid. You work that out, 2 parents, 2 kids, that's what, roughly about 120, 30 quid. Then they want a pie, then they want whatever. That's 150 quid a week, realistically.
Yeah.
Of course, people who are Celtic fans will understand how hard it is to get a season ticket. So getting 4 season tickets together, 2 adults, 2 kids, is practically impossible anyway. So what feedback we've had is like families actually like sit down and wait for the videos to come out on a Saturday night. So and it's like a family event. That's been one of the things that I've loved the most about it, mate. And like you said, fans enjoy it, and that's the reason why I continue to do it. And yeah, you do get hate and you do get people say whatever, but people enjoy it. People appreciate what we're doing, or what I say we're doing. I've got brought on team members now, but what I was doing last year, like quit my job and just went for it. And do you know what I mean? And I love it, mate. Do you know what I mean? So
It's amazing to
it's
have
been
that
good.
impact for people, to know you're having that kind of impact in their lives. And you talked about how you can get pelters and stuff sometimes, but right at the start of this, you were speaking about how you kind of had to do a lot of things yourself when you were younger. For like 17, was it you said you had to
Yeah,
do that?
can I moved out 17? Probably a my own fault. Bit of a kind of rebel child, fell out with my mum and dad.
He likes the rebels, doesn't
Fell out with my mum and dad, and no in big ways, just me, just no respect, and like probably any stroppy teenager, and had to kind of grow up quick. My dad's quite a hard man and quite old school, brought up with his granddad who was a miner and stuff. So that kind of that was that. I was a mummy's boy though, and I thought like I could do whatever, and my mum would let me away with it. And then I quickly realised as I got older that's not the case. So I kind of had to kind of grow up quick, and that's kind of one of the reasons why. And I'm only 25 now, even though I look 40. I've had the worst paper round in the country, I think. But I think I kind of grow up quick in some instances, and I think that's why when I knew this is what I wanted to do, or when I started to get good feedback from it, and I'd done it myself, I had no help from anybody. It's not like, oh, my dad's mate got me a job in like being a brickie or in a shop or whatever. Like I'd done it myself. It was something I'd done on my own. We practically no help because no one was really doing Celtic vlogs last year. Now there's about 10 or 12 people, I think, to do them. Of course, there's loads of podcasts out there. Loads of the fan media are excellent. They're great. But it was very niche, and I had to teach myself, and I had to learn what fans wanted to see. So once I found out about that, mate, I just threw myself at it.
you think that that kind of upbringing has made it easier for you to take like the criticism and stuff because you've always had to deal with things yourself and put it on your own shoulders type of thing?
And I wouldn't say I had a bad, I had a great upbringing.
No,
Like
aye,
I know what you mean though. Like I had a great upbringing, very fortunate. Both my parents are great with me. Travelled, had a good upbringing, and I think my dad being the guy is quite a not an emotional guy. I think my dad's gave me a hug twice. You know what I mean, in my life, but that's not a bad thing. That's like just the way he was brought up. So I think stuff like that has gave me a thick skin. But at the same time, like you do get pelters, and some it's for Celtic fans who whatever. But at the end of the day, they wouldn't be giving me pelters if they didn't watch the content,
that is exactly.
because they can't slag somebody for without watching what they're up to. So aye, that kind of thick skin, it's fine, and everybody will get comments, whatever, and but aye, like you said, that kind of does help. But when you go into the kind of not limelight as such, but when you start to be in the public eye, you need to be able to have thick skin and be able to take that sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? Otherwise, you'll just crumble.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, I had a really good conversation with Evan Bailey about that the other day. Actually, he
Yep.
was from Bailey's gaff. He was talking about how, you know, if somebody when he went to Vietnam, I think it was. I'm pretty sure it was that. Well, was it Vietnam? I said. Can't remember. Hope that's right. But no, he was just talking about how when he went there, he sort of seen a change in culture, and how here there's very much like a slagging off type of very culture. If you like,
Yeah.
like you don't really want to step outside the box, and whenever someone does, and then especially when they start to do well,
Yeah.
it's like people kind of turn on you a little bit.
100%. Like I've had people who at the start, like even in the community, like of doing what I do, people were like, "Oh, brilliant, mate! I go for it, aye, whatever." And then as soon as you start to do better than them on numbers and figures, and that's something I really don't care about. Really, of course, the more numbers you get, the more financially stable you become, and the more popular you become, and the more jobs come for you. Just like any job, though, the more years you do, or you do 4 years at an apprenticeship, you're going to be more valued than someone that does 2 years at an apprenticeship. That's just how life works. But I mean, I've seen people who, like, as soon as you start to do well, just get really jealous and stuff. And that's not the way I am. Like I kind of I like to kind of not read a lot as such, but I like to look into like kind of motivational podcasts and things like that. That's really where I kind of strive and get some motivation from. And there's like a quote I really love, and it's like there's two types of people in life, and one, like, I can't remember the quote word on word, but I'll give you it as close as I can. It's like someone will see you do well, and they'll cheer you on and be like, "Do you know what? I want to be like him. Good for him." And then the other person will see someone do well and just turn and say, "Well, fuck him. Like, why does he deserve to do that? Why am I not doing that?" And that's the difference. Like, and you don't know who they are until you experience that. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And you learn very quickly. And I'm not the most successful guy out there, like by a country mile, but I know I'm doing well and I'm on the right path and I'm working hard, and that's all you can do, mate. And if people want to be on the journey with you, then great. And if they don't, then you've got rid of them quickly. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Do you think that people realise how much work actually goes into doing it?
No,
'Cause it seems like
no way.
there's loads. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like I feel like see even doing this right, there's a lot to this.
Yep.
But if I didn't have Paul with the technical side of stuff and actually recording the podcast, he knows.
Even even the financial aspect, you know, like
Yeah, exactly.
you've got 3 mics here. I think there's like 4 or 5 cameras.
Oh, exactly.
You've
Yeah.
got 3 monitors over there, 2 laptops. Like, do you know what I mean? Like that financial step straight away, most people couldn't do, and that's not any disrespect to anybody, but like it's really hard to get that sort of equipment in and get the quality right and stuff. Like for instance, for me, like the way we are doing stuff next year and the kind of production of a show, all summer I'm in meetings chatting to companies and brands and be like, listen, this is what we're doing, this is where we want to go. And because you put out a 15-minute video every week or every second week, if you don't get a ticket for an away game, people think that's all the work you do. And then coming off that, like you said, people judge you from what they see in a 15-minute clip of a 2-week period of your life. Do you get what I mean? How silly does it sound when you talk about it?
Yeah, yeah.
But it can be like that. And I don't think a lot of people realise what goes into it. I mean, even editing videos, if you've never edited a video before in your life, then my God, like I tell anybody to go and try it and make it good. It's, I mean, my first edits in my videos were like terrible. They still aren't the greatest, but we're getting there. We're improving as time goes on, and like I said, I kind of go back to the apprenticeship thing. It's like I still feel I'm serving my apprenticeship in this media world or kind of YouTube as such. But you learn quickly. But no one ever realises the amount, especially my mum. She's like, "What are you doing today?" I'm working. How? There's no football, and I'm like, well, I've got so much on, but it's not how much work goes into it. It's what work you're putting in, how much effort you're putting in, mate. Do you know what I mean? And
I think that's
for
what it
instance,
is.
that's why you've done well, mate, because you put effort into this podcast and getting guests on, and you've skived a wee bit this week getting somebody like me on because I'm a rotten guest, but usually you've got some great guests on. Do you know what I mean? So but it's like anything, mate. Only you know how much work you're putting into something,
Yeah.
and only you know if you're working hard enough to make it work. Do you know what I mean?
I think that's the main stigma between any sort of, self-employed adventure you're doing, whether it be vlogs or podcasts or whatever.
Yep.
Because people are just assuming, I think people just assume, well, he's not having to work a 9 to 5, and you know what I mean? Like, his life is not like mine.
Yeah, but that's the thing though. Like I've worked 9 to 5s, 10 to 10s, weekends since I was 16, to then put myself in a position where I don't need to work a 9 to 5, and this is what I can do because it's your passion. Do you know what I mean? It's the exact same thing. And I think that's where, like we speak about, a lot of the kind of hate comes from is people will be like, they spend their 9 to 5 working or listen, fair play to them. I just couldn't do it anymore, going to watch Celtic and working really hard and to go to the football every weekend, and there's so many people out there, and credit to them. Like I said though, back at the start of the podcast, I'm so fortunate now that I'm in that position where this is my job. But to be fair, I'm working more than a 9 to 5 because I'm up at 7 a.m. and then I'm no finishing sometimes to 10, 11 o'clock at night. And then having to edit a video through the night and then back up again and other stuff going on. So, well, like you said, mate, it's about what you put in.
If you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. No, that's what they say. Yep. And but I do think that's sort of the misconception of the whole thing.
Yep.
Is that they just assume you're just sort of losing about, and then you'll post a video and that's it.
Until you walk a mile in a man's shoes, don't judge him.
Well, not everybody will do that, but I mean, like, do you know how hard I tried to not do that there? Like, slide the wheelchair joke, right? But it was too obvious when I'm like, you can't say that to me and know he's trying to tap me. Come on, have you watched this podcast before? I'm like, that was too good not to use. Like, I had to. I've been trying to be better at it, but it's probably not going to improve with yourself and the York brothers. I can't imagine that going. The wheelchair joke's going to wait anytime soon. But no, you picked a pretty good season, I would say, to do all this stuff, man. Aye,
quite lucky. I'm a good omen now. Just make sure I'm doing it next season, the season after, and whatever. A special season for Celtic. A special season for the fans as well, coming back. And of course, that's kind of how the journey started, doing podcasts with footballers throughout lockdown. There's nothing else to do. And it kind of progressed from that, and that's how the whole journey started. But yeah, a really special season for everybody being back. A really emotional season as well. And I think that's why the vlog's done so well, is because the emotion of the crowd. It was just great last year. An absolute pleasure to be part of, and some excellent memories made. And do you know that's one of the reasons why I love doing the vlogs is I've got all the memories in video.
Mm-hmm.
And I took them from where I was sitting. So in years to come, I can go back and look at them. People can go back and look at them, and people still do. People go back and watch the final versus Hibs, 3-0 versus Rangers at Celtic Park. People still go back and watch them, and it just,
I do as well. Actually.
I don't know. It just makes you relive the moment. That's what I love about it. Do you know what I mean? It's an energy you just can't kind of describe when you're at a football game and a goal goes in, or if you're watching that vlog and you know where I'm Jockstein Lower, and you're like the left hand side of the north stand, so you'll be like looking at that going, look, there's us gone mental. Do you know what I mean? You can see yourself and stuff. Do you know what I mean? And that's what's great about it, because you can say like, I'm part of that. I was there, or like even if you're not at the game, you feel part of it because you're getting the view from where I'm sitting. So it's great, mate. Smile on my face. I'm just buzzing for the football at the back already.
No, it's great. I've actually been choking to talk about last season on a podcast for a while, just because it was every game mattered. I think that was one of the things. Like, obviously, every game always matters, but there was something about last season with what happened the season before and Ange coming in, and also like having the Champions League jackpot. I think everybody had that, knew that was going to be the end of it, and knew, whoever wins this league is going to have a big advantage going into the next season. So there was a lot of pressure on it, and I think that made every sort of moment of like, it's strange because for the last sort of decade, like, our expectation has been you win the league, and it was a given, mate. It was like, and it wasn't a treble. It was like, I can't believe they didn't win a treble there.
Aye, yeah.
So that when you have that expectation, and then you just and then all of a sudden you lose the league by 25 points. No, but I mean, like, I think that made last season special, and I hope that Celtic fans kind of keep that sort of idea that we're not. It's not a gimme that we're going to win everything all the time. And what Ange Postecoglou done last season was, it was incredible to watch. Yeah. It was incredible to watch. I remember multiple times during the first half of the season, I was sitting watching games and being like, we have got no chance here, man. We are not going to win anything this season. So to come away with a double was remarkable.
Yeah, I mean, I've had the pleasure of speaking to Ange a few times this year, and
okay, bastard.
and he spoke about how his style wouldn't change and how he would persevere and he would stick at it. And the quote about we never stop. And I spoke to him off last week about that, and he was saying the same. And I mean, the players did do that, and results at the start of the season weren't great. There was a point swing that had to be changed. Fortunately, it did happen. Fortunately, we gained points, and we won the Derby, huge game. Dundee United, Dingwall away as well. Ross County away. Games like that won the season last year from just being persistent and sticking to the style that Ange wants to do. And I'm glad that he's... Yeah, and he came in quite late for a manager last year as well, the whole Eddie Howe thing, and Eddie Howe supposedly coming, then not coming in, and then Ange coming in late and maybe didn't get enough business done that he maybe wanted to do. I know he done some great business last year, but when you look at the time frame compared to what other managers tend to get when they come in at the end of the season, he's probably not had that time.
For sure.
So, no, what he done last season was remarkable, mate. And I'm sure when we look back at the season, there's been so many seasons recently, and especially in my lifetime, where what we've achieved won't sink into me until I'm 40, 50. And I'm
100%,
going,
mate.
like, looking back going, I mean, players like Scott Brown, like he's so underappreciated. Not in the sense of what he's done, but like as greats. I mean, in my eyes, that man should have a statue for what he's done at the club. Do you know what I mean? But we won't realise that until 10, 20 years. Do you know what I mean? Because you're just so used to having Bruni there and the banter of Bruni and just getting stuck in. But when you look back at his career and what he's won for the club and things like that, so and it's one of the ones we'll look back in 10, 20 years and we'll realise how special our seasons have been. Maybe this past decade, if not the last 15 years, how special it's been for the club. Certainly.
No, for sure, it's been a great time. Like, I think that happens at every period of football though. Like, even I look at like worldwide, I don't think people really realise how good Barcelona were with Guardiola until people look back and they go, mind when Xavi, Iniesta and Busquets for the midfield three, and they had Messi and like, so
even that Spain team at the Euros and the World Cup,
unreal, man.
David Villa and stuff, like crazy.
And that at the time you just felt, oh, this is like normal, but then you look back and you realise that guys like that were special. And there's something about Ange Postecoglou, because like you say, he had a million different excuses for last season not to go well. I think if we had finished 10 points behind them last season, most fans would have been like, well, that's kind of what we thought was going to happen.
Some, maybe not most, but
I mean, because you look at we signed Ralston because we had no other right back, and we had no intention of getting another right back until we, so there was very little. All the eggs were in the Eddie Howe basket, and then when that didn't come off, and he came from Japan without even having any backroom staff. So there's a million things about it that are just so special. And what were some of your favourite moments from last season?
Motherwell away. I'm from Lanarkshire, so Motherwell away is my favourite away day. Always has been. Great kind of wee story of when Kieran Tierney was still at us, and he's from where I'm from. So I went to the game with him, and he was injured, and he had the boot on and the sling and stuff. And I remember we were getting 2-0 at half time, Rogers, remember? And then we won 4-3. It was like,
Oh,
last
aye.
Christmas, I'll give you my heart. Right,
Aye,
that one.
Oh, no, was that
4-3 Rogic and Forest, yeah.
That was special.
And I remember, like, I was with him and his pal, and it was his uncle, I'm sure. And everybody was looking up to the top tier, and they were like, Shala. It was like the Pope that day. I swear to God, it was brilliant. But those on their doorstep, I've always loved that away day. So that was my favourite away day last year. 4-1, I think it was actually. We won 4-0, 4-1. One of the two.
4-0, aye.
4-0.
That was because it was. I think it was after we beat Aberdeen with Motherwell, because we just beat them 3-0.
Yeah, I think it was Dyson's third game.
Yeah,
we played Hibs, then we played whoever. Anyway,
we were so good in that period as well.
That's my favourite away day. It's just on my doorstep, so it's a good away day for me. I'm no really into travelling. Plus, I don't get to go in the bus like everybody else. I don't get to have a half bottle or whatever. I need to be there an hour before, 2 hours before kick off, doing the presenting stuff and whatever. So, always a great away day. At home, of course, beating them 3-0. Just unreal, like, and the style that we done it. Just great. A great day in general. And then for me, genuinely my favourite moment of the season was Abada's goal, the late one against Dundee United. Now down to 10 men, Beaton sent off, and Abada comes up with that goal, and like I said, Jockstein lower, so, and you'll see it in the vlog. I'm sure you'll put the clip up, but. Kev looking at just absolutely crazy when they go, and everybody running about us, kids getting thrown there and everything, scarves, seats. It was just Fantas, pies, everything just getting flung. It was mental. And then maybe on a kind of personal front of like the chance to actually speak to the gaffer. Some of the media stuff we've done this year's been great. I think it's helped not only me but the people who watch our stuff get really involved within the club. Like, I've had a great gut of chats with Ange, and he's been great, and you know how he is with the normal media, but with me, certainly in my experience with him, he's been brand new. He's cracked the odd joke here and there, and I think that's helped us get to like Ange more, get to understand him more as a manager, not as only as a manager but as a man as well. And he's gave obviously the JuddyTalks viewers and all the Celtic fans a good insight into him, which I really, really like. He's not been that closed off. So I'd say them, and then of course having the chance to speak to the players and that's been great. It genuinely has gave Celtic that feel about it. Like when we missed Celtic, no fans were there. It was tough. You're just watching on telly, but having that kind of feel good factor and getting everybody back involved and feeling like a big family, it's been great. So, but for me, football wise, certainly Abada's goal just amazing. And I can't really remember the third goal in the derby because I think I was still celebrating the second and somebody was on top of me and then it wasn't in. So, but Abada's goal. What about you? Which was your one?
Oh, the 3-0.
That was excellent that day.
Because that was that. I mean, there's been a lot of good moments over the years, like you say, but that atmosphere that night was something special. I got COVID that night, and it sparked a series of events that wasn't great for me, but it was worth it. Experience that night. Like, I couldn't say it was worth it back then, but I can say now it was worth it because the atmosphere was different that night. There was something about it.
Yeah, definitely one of the most, maybe not the most special, but certainly the most special in a long time I've experienced at Celtic Park. Yeah, because
I think it almost felt like one of those games you came in and you looked around and you thought, we're going to win.
This is our night. Like the energy around Celtic Park, and we were interviewing fans before it, and kids and that, they were really excited. They're like, "Oh, we're going to win," and whatever. And once you've got that feeling,
Yeah.
The energy, it's just great. And then obviously the result goes your way as well. It turns into one of the best nights of your life.
Honestly,
That was brilliant.
you know, it's funny you said about the third goal, because the third goal, the same thing happened to me, only it was Beans.
Right.
Fucking Beans, he came down, he was talking to me. We get a selfie, we were talking. As we're talking, we see the balls crossed, and you just see him turn around, and he ends up sitting in my lap, man. It was hilarious. I don't know how he didn't end up tripping over or something, but such
crazy,
a
mate. Everybody was on top of everybody that night, and there was definitely more than 60,000 in there that night. There must have been about 70. I think everybody bunked in that night. It was about
man.
10 in a row, like doubled backed up. But it's the culture up here, innit? You do anything to go and watch a derby.
Do you think that the Abada goal was like the moment that we thought, I think we could maybe win the league here?
For me, that was a moment when I said we won the league.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, everybody's will be different, but for me, I was like, that's what champions are made of. Down to 10 men, sticking at it, scoring late on. That's what Celtic are about. Do you know what I mean? I remember under the Rodgers era, we played some kind of no great football, but we were the fittest team in the league, and we got results late on. Do you know what I mean? And quite a lot of games. And when you look back at Rodgers' success, that kind of emulated that for me with Abada's goal, and I'm like, that's it. Obviously Tony's going, big Tony, class, what a guy, but his goal as well was another one. But for me, the Dundee United one, I was like, that's it. They're no catching us. Like, we've won it.
Well, if we didn't win that game, I think the significance of winning that game meant that if we beat them, we could go top. So psychologically, it was a big moment, and it was almost like when we done that, they were like, oh, they were on the ropes.
Yep.
And the thing that was great about the game, the 3-0 game, was that I feel like, you know, we've had great teams in the past that couldn't quite match the fans' energy, you know, when the fans bring that. Yep. But I think when the fans brought that and the players were lifted by it, that's when you knew we were onto something special, because you can tell the players are connected, you can tell the manager's connected, and it feels like for the first, because even with Rodgers, as much as they had brilliant success, you never really listened to him and felt like he was, you know, he was relatable to us. You know, the day-to-day fan that goes to Celtic Park. He was a bit more, I guess, upper class maybe. I don't know. It just seemed a bit more serious that way. But Ange has this presence, but also this willingness to be your friend. He feels like you can go have a pint with him.
He does. He feels like a guy you would go for a pint with, and I think that's why a lot of Celtic fans resonate with him. He comes from a very working class background. His father was an immigrant. He moved out to Australia or whatever. So there's a lot of Ange which ties in with Celtic and its values and its traditions, its history. And I think that's why a lot of fans love him, as you said. But yeah, of course, I think when you speak about Celtic and the players matching the fans' energy, I think the day after the Jablonet game? The Jablonet game was a half attendance game, wasn't it? No, it wasn't. It wasn't. It was Ferencváros.
Right, yeah.
Half free kickoff. And I spoke to Cal McGregor the next day, and my question to him was, how important was it for you and the new players in the team to experience that turnout at half free in a Wednesday afternoon? And his words were like, best fans in the world, like no one comes close. And I think from that moment on, like, people were like, right, and they got behind the team even more, and then you see the atmospheres picking up throughout the season. Even cup games as well, like a lot of the cup games at home, of course, there's not going to be a big attendance. A midweek cup game against Raith Rovers, and that's understandable because, again, going back to the football costs a lot of money. Some people can't make it. Celtic have got a big following in Ireland, so you appreciate that. But there was a bigger turnout than a lot of previous cup games I've been in my lifetime, like the midweek ones. So I think everyone seemed to pick up. Everybody seems to charge on, and like I said, that kind of synergy of fans, the players, the club, all kind of came together and gelled well, and just very thankful they've got 2 trophies out of this season.
Oh, it's a beauty of Celtic though, because I do think that, you know, he, right from the start, everyone kind of debates the Ange Postecoglou thing, him coming in, nobody really knew who he was, how's it going to go.
Yeah.
But from what I can remember, it seemed like we all got behind him right away. As soon as he was up, as soon as we knew that he was at, we were like, well, we need to just back this guy. And it paid off quite a bit.
No, definitely. I mean, I spoke about that the other day in Transfer Talk, and spoke about like the Arm Brazil clip, and there was a few fans, of course, and fans will be like, why is a club of such stature like Celtic bringing in a guy who's not well known? And there was links with Mourinho and Benitez, and Andres Villas-Boas was linked to us at one point as well. And when you look at that calibre of manager who's competed in Europe at the highest level, I mean, 2 of the managers won a Champions League. Do you know what I mean? So you look at the calibre of managers, and then you bring in someone who's not well known, who comes from a league which isn't highly rated domestically, and well, Japan and Australia, they're not the highest rated leagues. You can understand that. So yeah, you can understand some fans' frustration, but like you said, a lot of fans, as soon as he comes in, they were like, right, well, he's a Celtic manager, we back him because he's Celtic, and they did, and well, the rest is history, isn't it?
Well, I think we've kissed Ange's ass enough, haven't we?
Yeah,
Hopefully he hears this.
worth it though, because
I love him so much.
he has his class. He's a class act on and off the puck. Always get time to speak to you. Always says hello. And he's on the park. It speaks for itself.
I think it radiates around the full club. There seems to be a real synergy with what's going on. Even you've done a lot of work with the women's team.
Yep.
And they've had great success. They got to the final. Did they win?
Yeah, won two cups this year. So
they won a double as well, let's say. And you've obviously worked a lot with them. How do you think that the two camps like kind of compare? Do you feel the same synergy come from the women's team as the men's team?
I think so. The first thing to speak about women's football is if you've not attended women's football, then my first advice would be go. Women's football will never be on the same level as men's football, not on any other reason than that the men's game has had so much more time to evolve over the years. It's evolved as a game. There's been more funding, but when you look at the women's game now, the standard's getting better because there's more funding getting into it. There's more time getting into it. I mean, a lot of women in the top league in Scotland and certainly in England for a long, long time were part time. Like the same as kind of maybe third division in Scotland, part time, semi pro. Now that's starting to come in with a full time now. That, I mean, they're out in pre-season tour, they're now in Gran Canaria and stuff. So the women's game is evolving. It will evolve, just like any other sport. I mean, you look at something like UFC, for instance, a completely different sport. When you look at it back then, it was like a couple of cameras and people battering people's heads in an octagon. Now it's evolved into a proper sport, like $1 billion company. Things like that need time. They need progression. Celtic have certainly been great with that. It's been a pleasure to cover the women's game. Something I'm quite interested in as well, because a lot of fans don't get to see the women's game, and a lot of fans aren't interested in the women's game, and that's not any disrespect to them, but you're asking them to get into a different habit of something they're not used to, or change, whatever. Plus, a lot of the fixtures are clash with the men's first team, which is hopefully changing, and the club have kind of spoke about that. But it's good to get anybody passionate for football. I mean, us as young boys, I looked up to players like John Hartson, Scott Brown, Larson, of course, stuff like that. But you see young girls now who look up to players like Kelly Clark, Jodie Bartle, Jacinta. Do you know what I mean? So you're starting to see that now. You're starting to see the crowds grow. And they have grown throughout the season, especially the games I've been at. They're getting bigger. They're getting better. There's a real there's a stronger connection between the fans and the women's team than there is the men's team and the fans. But of course, because there's more access, they come pitch side after the game. They get a few pictures, and of course, you can't really do that at men's kind of level of football when there's 60,000 fans there. Tony Ralston, if he's at right back, would be stunning with the main stand for 45 minutes trying to take selfies. Do you know what I mean? So yeah. There's a great connection. There's a great connection with Fran and the girls as well, which is really, really good to see. Fran's great with the media. The girls are great with the media. They're just great. They are, and they're really passionate about it as well. They're really passionate about the club. So it was good to see that. It was good to see them play at Celtic Park this season as well, along with the B team. Things like that help fans get involved with the club on more levels than just the first team. Do you know what I mean?
I think the women's team's still fairly new as well. The Celtic Admirals teams have only been in the last sort of, I want to say, a few years, or because Glasgow City were the club that was sort of running the whole thing. They were the main.
Yeah.
Club. I can remember they were going to sponsor a part of the Powershare football team, and then it seems like since the Celtic managers come in, they've kind of it's been almost going similarly to the men's game.
Yep.
But I think that one of the biggest points you make there is that they're actually being treated with that, respect that they,
Of course.
and for the longest time I think I wasn't there, but you're starting to see now, there is a lot of talent and there's a lot of, and they're doing exactly the same as what the men team are doing. They're representing Celtic with a lot of pride and putting a lot of effort into it. It's great to see as somebody in a wheelchair, and I feel like this is probably a good part of the podcast to talk about this. I wasn't sure whether I wait to the end or whatever, right? But
Of course.
I've been talking to you about this for a while over the past year or so. I've been trying to start a Celtic power chair football club.
Yep.
For anyone that doesn't know what a power chair is, it's basically the kind of wheelchair that you don't push. You use a wee stick as I'm about to flick. You hear it? But it's not like this. It's more like a sport. It's like a sport. I'll put a wee clip on this for or Paul will, in the post of this. But basically, it's just in a chair with a bumper, and you kind of swipe to hit the ball and stuff like that. And I have been working on this for a while. In the last few weeks, there have been some pretty major developments in it. So, what you just said there about how, the women's team, girls have people to look up to now. This is essentially what I'm trying to do for wheelchair users in the same sort of regard. And about a year ago this month, I had Tony Helmet on the podcast, and we talked about
great guy, by the way.
He is a great guy. Yeah. He's a hard guy to read, but he's a great guy.
Yeah, a really nice guy. Did the sleep out. He was at the sleep out in November there for the foundation. Really nice guy.
I want to talk about the foundation as well, because some of the things they do are just incredible, and I think they're worth talking about.
Yep.
But in regards to this, right, what essentially has happened is I've been kind of trying to keep people updated. I did a podcast a few weeks ago when I started back outlining the fact that I wanted to make this happen and stuff. This is one of my main goals, and I've been sort of tweeting about it and posting about it. But they had an event, and I got to meet Tony and Donna Marie and stuff like that, and I gave them my proposal.
Yep.
And they're very much interested, and now I have a meeting set with them for the end of July. So it looks like this is going to happen. I'm finally at a stage now where I can say it's looking like where I go for Joe here, and I'm really excited about it, because we've been looking at places we can play indoor games where we can get fans to come. I'm already looking at playing Manchester United in a friendly game and bringing them up and try to get like a couple hundred fans inside to watch it.
Yeah, of course.
So you talked about how everything's an evolution. This sport's been going on for like 10 years, and I've been playing it since I was a wee guy. And seeing the progression of it now, I knew there was going to be a point where it came to where I was like, wait, we need to get like big clubs involved in this now.
Yep.
And now we're sort of at that stage where I'm like, I need to go and make this happen. So to be on the verge of being able to represent Celtic and do these things, and see, talking about Ange and all that as well, to come back to that, like, I think when we're talking about these from the women's team and the women's, what's his name again? Sorry, it's went out of my head. The
manager, Fran Alonso.
He's really well liked as well, and
yep.
I think it gives you a good indication of the way that you need to conduct yourself in those roles. And I'm looking at potentially being a player coach thing here for this. So I'm really excited to sort of show people the way the game can be played, and I know a lot of Celtic fans hopefully will listen to this. So if you're interested in Powership football, check it out, man.
And the thing is, like you said there, is it's a progression in any sport. It's anyone who's given the right facilities, the right funding, and the right opportunity, people will strive if they're passionate about something, mate. So I hope it does go well for you, mate. I hope it takes off, and I'll certainly be at a few games
if you come to the mate. Honestly, do you know how much of a buzz it'd be if we could get you like presenting one of the games? Because I want to video everything. I want to like put it on YouTube, put all the games on YouTube.
What, mate, I'll 100% come and do one of the games for you, mate. 100%.
Brilliant. The Man United, because the way I'm looking at it is, right, how can we get this the most exposure as quickly as possible? And Man United have already agreed to do a friendly game with us, so I'm kind of looking at that going,
do a live stream.
We're looking at the Emirates across from Parkhead. They can sit in. They said they can sit in 500 people. Can you imagine 500 people watching a Celtic Man United power football game, man? That would be. I'll be in tears the whole way through that, man.
That'd be class, mate. And that's what it's about, mate. It's all about development and things like that do come with the right funding, right opportunities, right facilities. So
Tony and the foundation have been so good to me.
The foundation are excellent, and I think they deserve to we spoke about. From everything they've done this year, the Football for Good campaign, the sleep out, which was rotten. It was freezing. I drank about 12 litres of Bovril just to try and stay alive. Mary's Meals Walk, which happened the other day. I'm sure it's called Mary's Meals. Kenny Parker for the foundation. Please don't shoot at me. It hates me mispronouncing stuff. So I do apologise. I'm sure it was that. Of course, the sleep out was done in London. There was one done in Ireland. There was one done at Celtic Park. There's been loads of stuff. I was also doing the Glasgow Taxi Outing Fund the other day with Tom Boyd. We spoke about the foundation giving a £7,000 cash donation to that, which takes kids with special needs and or assisted needs on a kind of day out to Troon, which is great. So, I mean, what Celtic do and charity wise, I mean, a lot of it does go under the radar. But the team at the foundation works super hard. And I've seen that kind of first hand from doing a couple of wee things with them, and it's great to see that they're helping other people. But it's really nice to mention also that the work they do, because obviously Celtic was founded for charitable needs back in 1887, but it's one of the ones where the traditions still lie on. So it's been great to see. So
it's a great team they've got. Like, see, hearing the stories they told at the event. I was at a
showcasing event,
and having them all come up. Every one of them, you were like, the next one's not going to be better than this one, and every one of them were just incredible.
Yeah,
and you're listening to them and you go, that's what football. Football as a sport on its own is great, but see, having that connection to something bigger than that.
Yeah,
like you felt really proud.
Yeah,
to be a Celtic fan.
100%.
And knowing that I was there potentially to make a team of people in wheelchairs, like how much that will do for the whole thing, and just listening to what they were saying, like what it means to them, because I think you can just you can get any kind of job, but the passion these people have for not just any sort of job, but improving people's lives, making people happier, making people feel better is the best thing you can do with your life.
100%.
And see, the amount of effort they put into it. I was really emotional listening to all the stories.
You do, and I think it's ingrained in a lot of Celtic fans to be that way as well. And I'll give you a quick example. At JuddyTalks, we done a little thing where when I started getting recognised, it's usually kids who come up and go, "You're Juddy," like from YouTube and whatever. Can I get a selfie or a picture or whatever? Their dad will come up and go, "Listen, the wee man, that's a picture of you." And I'm obviously going to say, "Aye, great, no worries." And we had a wee guy. His name was Jackson. Jackson was his name, and he came down from Aberdeen, and I remember it well. And I think it was his sister or his someone like that. Anyway, I don't want to get it wrong, but a family member asked to get a picture with him, and I remember taking the picture. And I swear to God, I'll send you it so you can put it up on the screen for people to see. The smile on the wee guy's face was as if he'd just met Pelé. Right, honestly, and I'm like, come on. So then what we done with that is I was like, I have to share this on social media. So we put it up and we called it JuddyTalks Fan of the Week. And then coming on to my point about Celtic fans being so charitable, is like, we've done it every week and we've done Fan of the Week. And then when it came at the end of the season, I'm like, what am I going to do? So we've done a thing called Fan of the Year Award. And it went to a guy called John Flanagan, who has become a very close friend of mine since becoming part of the kind of Celtic community or whatever. And what John does is every time you phone John or you text John what you're up to, or you look at his Facebook, he's volunteering, or he's doing something in the East End of Glasgow, or he's doing the radio station for the kids, or he's doing the kilt walk, or he's doing something like that. And he got the Fan of the Year award, and we gave him a wee certificate and stuff outside his ground, and we done it in front of everybody to embarrass him and stuff like that, because he's not that kind of guy. But I made sure that we gave him like an award, and Simon Donnelly and Jackie McNamara for First Star gave us a wee award to give him, and he got a VIP night at the Speakers Night and stuff, and he went for his dinner and all that kind of thing. So it was great. But from that's not just because of the man he is, it's because of the way he's been brought up to follow Celtic, and I'm sure he would agree with that. It's just what he expects himself to do. It's just the way we were kind of brought up. Do you know what I mean? There's anything I can do to help it, Chaz, and I'll say I'm nowhere near as hard a worker as John, and that guy's just, he's a burning candle, like constant. He's just helped me out so much. But I think you see a lot of kind of charity when it comes to Celtic, and it's just because it's part of your roots. And like Ange said this season, I know speaking about him so much, but he said it's a generational thing. It certainly is. It's like
Values, mate.
yeah, exactly, values and what you stand for. And I think that's why we say we're very grateful and lucky to be Celtic fans, because there's stuff like that, mate.
Let's just get the songs on, mate, and get some
Get a sing song.
get some singing on the go.
When you wait till the season starts, it's still a bit.
When does the season start? Tomorrow. Let's get going, man.
I know it's so long. It's been murdered, but it's gave us some time to plan for next year and stuff, and which has been good, mate. And it's nice to have a wee break. Last year was a bit non-stop, even though you're only doing one video a week, as people say. But it's nice to get a wee break and relax a wee bit.
So let's talk about next season then. But you've spoke about adding some people to your team.
Yeah.
So you've obviously done this all yourself. Did you find it at all difficult to find the right people that you thought, I've obviously, this has been my baby, I've worked at it, I put a lot of work into it. I need people that I know are definitely going to be reliable here. What was that process like? Yeah,
so doing it myself, of course. JuddyTalks started as a podcast. Like I said, I got a couple of friends who I knew were footballers and asked them for a chat in a bedroom corner via Zoom with a chest of drawers and a bed behind me that wasn't made half the time. So it was just called JuddyTalks, and then once it built up a bit of following, you can't change it. So my name's there as it's a brand as such. It's like JuddyTalks is the name of the brand or whatever. So yeah, it was. Of course, it's my baby. I'm growing it, and of course, my name's involved. But it's more than that, because it doesn't just belong to me because my name's in it. It genuinely does belong. I know it sounds so cliche, but it belongs to the people who watch it. Because if they're not watching it, if Celtic fans aren't watching my stuff, then it's pointless even doing it. So it certainly belongs to them. It's part of their weekend routine or their weekly routine or their daily routine, watching the videos or feeling part of it or commenting. Like, we get the same people every week commenting, just saying, "Hi Juddy, hope you had a nice weekend. Great video once again," or whatever, or "Oh, it was good to see this, such and such," every week. And I've never met the people in my life, but I know all their names, like Dick Graham, you've got Barry Boy, like that. There's just a couple of the names off the top of my head who comment and stuff. So they people are part of your kind of community. So you've built a kind of community. So for me, it was really hard to get people on board. I wanted to make sure we done it right. We've brought a boy on, Cairo, I've met very recently. Really nice guy though. Really passionate about Celtic. And wants to make content on YouTube about it. So I was like, come on, 100%, let's get him in. Do you know, I think he's actually making a video now as we record this. So he's hard at work. And then Natasha, of course. Natasha's very well known, and for her contributions to other fan media and stuff. And but me and Natasha got on. We're very similar as people. Like we kind of want to do the same thing, and we get on really well, and she's a good laugh. Do you know what I mean? Like she's bang on. So, giving someone a kind of opportunity like to help build the brand, and her helping me, of course, it's not just a one-way thing of like me saying, right, come on and do this. But Natasha's one of the people I could see myself working with in 15 years, like Ant and Deck doing the kind of double. Do you know what I mean? Like, no, like that as such, but I could see me and Natasha going and doing like projects together, which we've got a couple planned next year. I just can't say because I've signed a couple of contracts and stuff that don't allow me to say, but certainly like Natasha's one of the people I can see me and her going out and doing stuff for 10, 15 years and people still being entertained by it and it not get boring, because that's just the type of person. She's bubbly, we bounce off each other, and she has a good laugh. And do you know, she's very, very knowledgeable as well. I think that's one thing that a lot of people kind of look past. Any, and it's certainly in England, you see it a lot with Alex Scott and things like that. They look over like women presenters or pundits as if why they're there, and I think that's one, totally disrespectful, and two, it shows how ignorant some people are towards it. Because do you know, I'm really excited to bring Natasha on this year and work with her, because she's great. We've done some stuff the last game of the season last year. There's a wee teaser with the mics and stuff. We've done that deliberately to get people going, right, oh, they've got mics and that now, like what's going on? So yeah, she's great. Cairo's great. We've got a couple more people joining the team. Exciting things going to be. I
believe you're not be back, mate.
Can never knock you back, mate.
My application got lost in the mail. Do you know, Natasha felt like a big get. Like, she's somebody that I know who she is. I know what she's done before. And when I seen that, I thought, oof, Juddy's making some moves here.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, having people join your team is great, but having the right people join your team is so important. For me, I mean, Natasha's been brilliant in what she's done with kind of Axom and things like that, and it was more the kind of presenting side of things. Like, I'm very one of the guys where I respect all the fan media. There's people out there who follow up each other and all that. I don't want to be like that. I think we're all Celtic fans. We all should go on, right? So I see people doing their own thing. For instance, Axom, a good example. They do their bulletins, which is great, and that's their kind of thing. You've also got 67 Hail Hail who talk about kind of news, and they do kind of interviews with journalists and stuff. That's their thing. I do the vlogs and the kind of presenting side of things and the interviews. That's my thing. So I kind of try and stay away from that, and I let them do their thing because they're great and I love their stuff. And I think that's the way. I think that's why we all kind of got on and we work so well together, because you go to 67 Hail Hail for that, you come to me for the vlogs, you go to Axon for your bullet and stuff like that. That's just 3 examples. There's so many other ones out there, there's so many podcasts, so I do apologise if you're watching and I haven't mentioned you. It's just the easiest way to describe it. So yeah, having Natasha come on board as a presenter, because let's be honest, our natural talent is presenting. She's great in front of camera, she's very knowledgeable. Like I said, she's bubbly, she's chatty, so plus she's just good to work with. Like, no, she's not good, she's great to work with. I really enjoy like working with Natasha, spending time with Natasha, talking to her about football. So yeah, next year you'll see what we've got planned, but certainly like the future's bright for Natasha and career and kind of presenting.
So we should expect big things then.
Oh, 100%. And I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but
I'm like,
what we are doing is like we're the first kind of free football show, like pre-match analysis at the games, showing you parts of the game. Obviously not like clips while the game's going on, you can't do that, but like giving you the atmosphere, and then post-match reports and stuff like that. We'll be the first really to do that on YouTube. There's not anyone else who really kind of does that. At the production level, we're going to be doing it next year, which is great. And we've made it completely free for fans, and then we've got the memberships for people can join for like 99 pence. We've kept it at that because I'm like, the reason we do it is so people can watch and enjoy it. So, and that'll just be for exclusive stuff. But next year we've got some cool things planned. Really excited, mate. And I'm sure you've got big things planned for next year because your podcast is flying. That should get me on there. You're going to make it. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. No,
I just want Celtic fans to watch me more.
No, I'm joking.
The more I get to talk about Celtic, the better, mate.
That's it, mate. But no, like, I mean, you've got some good guests coming on tonight. You've got some good guests planned. So that's it, mate. Once you know what you want to do, then you'll make it work. That's my sole focus now, is just making this work, my baby work, and having people like Natasha, Cairo come on board. Yeah. I know they're going to help grow that, like, and nurture it and help grow it and turn it into a brand. And when you look at Cy Ferry, for instance,
he runs a football team, you know, out of what's that again, the podcast,
we go back to people giving him pelters and whatever, but what he's achieved in Scottish football media is nothing short of remarkable. What he's achieved, that achievement cannot. I don't care if people don't like his stuff, but everybody knows. Everybody who's a football fan in Scotland knows who Cy Ferry is.
We sold it at the Hydro, mate. I mean, you can't really.
Everybody knows his name. Everybody knows who he is. They've smashed it. And it's because they've been persistent. They've put out good content. They've brought the right people on board. They've had the right way to produce it. They've probably made some mistakes in the way, like everybody has, but they've smashed it. I mean, it's just been persistent. Right?
You're right. Consistency is the key.
Consistency is key, mate, and just doing your own thing. Like, no one should tell you how to do things. Like, I mean, my papa, right, bless him, he's not really into football. But that's a wee example. Like, my papa will say, "Oh, you should do this and you should do that." And in my head, I'm going, "Right, Papa." But I'm like, at the end of the day, I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. Like, and I've loads of recommendations. I'm doing it this way because this is part of the plan, and I'm not changing the plan. But I get like 1 or 2 people will go, "Oh, you should do this," but then say that video's got 100,000 views and 25,000 likes or whatever. If I'm changing that format for the recommendation of one person who knows me in person, ask him to do it, then it can all change. Do you know what I mean? So like that persistence from Cy to just do what he was doing and then bring something out, like he introduced keeping the ball on the ground or writing the coupon. Do you know what I mean?
Evolving,
yeah. But keeping that base and keep him doing what he's doing, but evolving it slightly. And that's what we're going to do with JuddyTalks next year. We're still going to have the match day footage, but we're going to do it a little bit more of a production.
I think that's what's really cool about it, mate, because you could have easily just been happy with the way it was.
I could have went and got a job with, I could have went and done some freelance work with a company, and like, do you know what I mean? I could have went and worked with a club in the Championship in England or the second division in England or whatever, and like moved in there and done like the presenting stuff or been like their kind of journalist or whatever. That's not what I want to do. I want to build something. Do you know what I mean? Like create something.
Work for yourself, mate.
Well, not even that. Like, you lose the passion when you're not working at the club you love. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And for me to have all the people who've supported me this year, right, in the channel, for me to cop out and just go take an easy route out, that's not who I am. I like a challenge. I like to be like, right, well, I've done that this year. What can I achieve next year? What can I do next year? Do you know what I mean? That's the way I look at it, mate.
Well, I think you've got a great team around you. Like it says, I'm really impressed with what I can see.
Thank God, because I'm burnt out. Fucking knackered.
It's a shift, mate, every week for that season. Especially the amount of games we had last season, man. And you know, we said about like thick skin earlier. Like you're talking about how Natasha probably gets a lot of pelters for a lot of things. I've seen her get abuse on Twitter.
Yeah, me as well. Everybody does.
Mate. It's quite clear to see why, though. You know what I mean? If you're a woman with a football opinion, it's you're going to get some pelters from some guys, and
you do. No matter what you do, mate. Honestly, I could win the Euro. Say I won the Euro Millions and won 500 million, right? And I brought Kieran Tierney and Dembele back to Celtic, and they won the treble. There would people still be out there like invest in Celtic and bought the players back. People would shout at me still and say, "Oh, you're a dick, or you've done this wrong." People would. You could do the best thing possible to someone's life, and someone would find something negative to say. It's just the way life is, mate. Like no matter who you are, what background you come from, doesn't matter, mate. There's people out there who just don't like you, mate, and you just need to learn to go on, mate. I just block them here and there, and I mean, I had a guy who was constantly tweeting at me, like not at me. But then he tweeted at me, and then his mate tagged one of his mates or something, tagged me in his tweet. And I was like, it was why this YouTube Juddy's a dick or something like that, right? It was a thread on Twitter, right? Genuinely a thread of reasons. And I got like to the third one down, and I'm just like, what are you talking about, right? So eventually I just blocked him. I'm like, don't need that negative energy, just blocked it. Next thing you know, he's on the JuddyTalks Instagram, voting on polls and stuff like that, right? Swear to God. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't know the guy's name. I honestly don't know anything about him. And then I ended up blocking him on that because he was just coming on and like ruining polls and like writing messages. And then he went on to my Instagram, and I'm like, oh my God, so I blocked him on that. And then I think it was about 3 weeks ago, I made the JuddyTalks TikTok because I'm not a TikTok guy. And it comes up some people who have viewed your profile. And it came up that guy, and I'm like, that's that guy, he's stalking us. He's giving us hate, but at the same time he's stalking us. And I'm like, that's the thing, mate. Like, you go back to that kind of jealousy thing. I don't know why people are jealous of me. I'm just do my thing and whatever. But honestly, there's people be jealous of you if you had the last can of Iron Brew at the shop in the fridge. Do you know what I mean? Like, people are like,
I think miserable people get jealous of happiness when they see it, honestly.
Yeah, that's a good quote, that, mate. That's a good tattoo, that. Miserable people get that's good, mate.
You know, because it's a lot of the time the people hating on you hate themselves more.
Yeah.
And that's what you tend to find with online stuff. You know, sometimes I worry about, you know, if one day this was to blow up and there was thousands of people watching all the time, how would I handle the
negative
scrutiny, if you like?
It's just part and parcel of life, mate.
Exactly.
Thing is, though, your personal situation.
Yeah. I've had plenty of stuff, mate.
But the thing is, though, what my advice to you would be, right, is I've not been through half of what you've been through in your life, physically, mentally, emotionally, right? You've started a podcast. You've done all that way, like a less of a head start than someone like me has.
2 good limbs.
Right? to put it that way. But when that stuff happens, because your podcast will take off, mate. You have to believe your podcast will take off. Like I said, I'm on now, so you'll do all right. But what you need, and my advice to you would be, could that person achieve what you've achieved in that time? And the answer will always be no, because you're the only person who knows how hard you've worked to get it, mate. You know what I mean? So you will, honestly, mate, you could do anything right, and honestly, you could score it. I could score a hat-trick for Celtic in a Champions League final, and somebody would find something for me to complain about. Oh, but he never ran back and got that pass. Do you know what I mean? Like, people, honestly, mate, no matter, and when it comes, mate, just be prepared for it, but take it in the chin. I wouldn't need take it in the chin, just block whoever it is and just be like, cool, no worries, man. Like,
you seem really, like, I wasn't really going to go into this, right, but you seem really level-headed, you know.
You have to be, mate. I mean,
but was there any sort of, did you actually have to specifically intentionally work on that yourself as a person?
Of course, because it's nice, and like, my mates and that will wind me up, because, like, for instance, I was out the day with my mate Callum, and we were in the town, and there's a couple of people that come up and go, "Hi, Juddy, how you doing? Listen, love the videos and stuff," which is great. It's really nice, but there comes a point where you have to be like, right, I don't only represent myself, I represent my channel. I also represent Celtic in a sense, because I'm connected with that club. So if I'm out doing, I don't know, backflips down the street, like, I don't know, do you know what I mean? I like, with a bottle of Buckfast in my hand, that's unacceptable. You can't do that. Also, my mum and dad keep me in check. You know what I mean? Like, I stay on my own in that, but like, if I had to do something, my gran and papa, like, if I had to do something, my gran would be like, if my gran had to say to me, "I'm disappointed in you for that," I'd be like, so things like that. But you have to be level-headed, and the thing is, it's we've grown very quickly. We've got like however many, 1 million hits last year or whatever, which has been great and stuff like that. But what you need to realise is, you look at people who have went from that to that, like, on a bigger scale, like in Hollywood. Like, look at that guy Young Lean. Have you seen that documentary recently about the Swedish rapper guy? Him, Macaulay Culkin, guys like that. Like, you need to think of, like, I'll never be as big as them. I'm just using them as examples for people to relate. But what people need to realise is, it's all about
Ability.
Aye, all about ability. I love that, mate. I love that. But it's all about just being yourself, mate, because I could play a fake persona on camera and whatever. Of course, you have a different voice when you present, because you're doing a job. It's like, I wouldn't speak to you how, if I worked in a shop, I wouldn't speak to you how I speak to a customer. It's because we're on a friendly level. It's manners and stuff, whatever. But it's very easy for someone to spot me being fake if that's not the person I am on camera. Do you know what I mean? And that's why I'm happy to be on here today, just to kind of open up and just maybe let some of the haters see who I actually am. Do you know what I mean? That's the thing.
Well, this is what the podcast's all about, mate. You want to show people that, you know, a genuine conversation. Because, like you say, you know, I'm in the chair, you'll know, but this is what I've said this on the last couple of podcasts. Because I think people ask me, you know, what is the purpose of the podcast? The purpose of the podcast is to show that, you know, I'm in a wheelchair and you're not, but we can have a chat. We can have.
And you can achieve stuff that I'll never achieve. Do you know what I mean? Like, exactly, things like that. It doesn't matter.
If I can do things you can't, but you can do things I can't. Then who's more able than who? Do you know what I mean?
Exactly, mate.
It's kind of breaking down that stigma and going,
the barrier.
We are, you know, we're all human here.
Yep.
We're all going through different things, but we're all feeling the
Love
same
that,
emotion. Mate. Like, nobody's feeling, no humans out there is feeling something that's never been felt before.
Class, mate.
But I think that more people that know that, the more they can connect with people. And
that's deep, man.
I do tend to get quite deep in here.
Aye, that's good, mate. Nah, I love that though. And like I said, it's I'm an absolute pleasure to be a guest on your podcast, mate. And you taking time out of your day and having me on. It's been good, and I know, just I love that, mate. And like I said, it's about people knowing how genuine someone is, and if this gives people an insight into my life, which is, it's not that exciting, but or my journey, or if they want to maybe do something in a similar prospecting, sport media or whatever, then great, mate. Do you know what I mean? And
well, you seem really motivated, and, you know, when I asked that question about developing yourself and working on that stuff like that, I've just noticed in my own life that the more that you actually, it seems to correlate with when you're developing yourself as a person, in terms of the way you think and what you're doing. You know, maybe you're reading books, going to the gym, just working on something for your own self.
Yep.
That tends to coincide with success.
Yep.
And see, while you've been doing all this work with your channel, and a lot of that has been, you know, you're progressing your career and things like that. But as an actual person in day-to-day life, Do you feel that you progressed much in your personal life as well as your professional life?
Yeah. So the reason I had a kind of event which I'll not go into, but I kind of lost someone really close to me, and they're no longer with us and stuff. So that what that happened, and then from that a big spiral of mental health, being on antidepressants and sertraline, and so anxious, like couldn't leave the house for a long period of time. I was like Archie if you still game the hermit. I wouldn't leave. Right? I'm no kidding. Like I lost kind of, and I'm back to where I feel I'm back to my old self now, if not better, in the sense that like I'll go out and I'll talk to anybody and whatever. But from that, the podcast actually kind of started as a gateway for me to kind of get back into how I used to be. And I still have terrible anxiety. Some days I wake up, I'm like, I cannot deal with the day. Like blind shut, covers over my head, just like zone out. Like, but having working on myself and the channel actually has helped me, I think, more than I've helped the channel, because knowing that people are waiting for my video to come out, I'm like, do you know what? Nah, I can't let like Georgie George down, or whoever else is watching the podcast, or Liam Skeldon, or Bailey, or like all these people who I know who are commenting on my videos all the time, or Doc Boy, things like that. Like all these people who I'm waiting on. Do you get what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
I don't want to let them down. I also don't want to let myself down and saying, like, put my target of being like, I'm not missing a home game at Celtic Park this season. Done it. Like, that's a great achievement. Do you know what I mean? For all I'm on camera, of course. Like, to do that, like, that was good. Also, just getting back to my old self was a huge goal for me last year. Maybe I don't think it's suitable right now, but maybe in 5-10 years time, I can disclose some of the stuff that's going to happen and things. But getting back to my old self was a major achievement for me. I feel I'm getting there. Getting back eating healthy again and stuff, and I lost a good bit of weight over the past year and a bit.
Seen
so
that on your Instagram last
I know,
night,
mate. I know. A couple of boys told me I had to put socks in my boxers next time, but I took a picture of that. But aye. So no, listen. You have to, mate. You have to get yourself into a routine. And I'm not some motivational speaker who's going to tell you to do whatever, because you can't be that until you've been really successful. But I have learned from people like Eric Thomas, David Goggins, Joe Rogan, guys like that. Like, you might not like them in full context, but some of the stuff they say is just too true. Like, you just can't avoid what they tell you. Stuff like that's pure spurred me on. Great support network for my mum, my grandpapa, my dad. Crazy, like, backed me to the hilt. Like, even though at the start they were like, how do you make money off YouTube? What are you doing? Like since then, that they've backed me to the hilt. Like, there's been months where I couldn't make my rent or whatever, and they've been like, no, we'll help you because I'm buying however many tickets, or I'm doing away trips, or I'm going away I'm away to Milan, for instance, today. Work, do you know what I mean? So I've had a crazy support network around you, but it's surrounding yourself as well, like you say, like surrounding yourself with the right people helps you become a better person. From then, what you become more productive, and you become better at your job, or better at your craft, and better at your trade, or not even better at that, but just better on yourself. If you become a better person, I think you work harder, you value what you do more as well. Like, I seen myself in previous jobs slave 12 hours. It was good money, but what did I get? What did I gain from it? Nothing. Stress. Do you know what I mean? Hatred for work.
I think that first of all, that was a really important thing you just said there, and I want to say thank you for it, because a lot of people probably look at you and don't think, it seems like a really confident, easygoing guy. Like,
again, people judge you on camera for 15 minutes. I'm nervous as anything coming here today. I genuinely don't like being on camera as such. I like what I do, and I like producing content, but of course I get nervous. We're all human. So I mean, it's no easy. Sometimes it's a struggle to leave the house some days, like I said, mate. Do you know what I mean? It is. Everybody's like that. But I know that's what it's all about, mate, being honest in it. So
no, because while I'm saying about how, see your whole channel, right? People that watch your channel might think of, and they'll look at the progression of it. In the head, they might have this idea of, oh, he's obviously really good at YouTube. He really knows what he's doing, and it's been zoned in on YouTube. Obviously, you've put a lot of work into YouTube, right?
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that maybe people don't realise that actual progress in your work life with doing that has correlated in you as a person, improving your life, improving your mental health, improving your state of mind.
Of course.
And I think that, you know, there needs to be more of a discussion on the fact that the two of those things are together.
Yeah.
It's not like,
of course,
you know,
like, if you're sad and upset, you're going into work with a terrible attitude. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I'm sure one of my old English teachers used to say something like, it was maybe a quote from a book or something, but I can't remember. It was along the lines of, if you open the window first thing in the morning and you look out and you comment on the weather, that's the kind of day you'll have. Like, you open and you see it's a rainy day, you go, fuck, it's raining. You're not going to work hard that day. You're not going to want to be productive. You're not going to. Whereas you open the thing, it's sunny, you're like, oh, great, what a day I've got ahead. That's before you even know what's ahead of you in the day. The first thing you've done is open your blinds and go, oh, it's a rainy day. Like, it puts you in the mood. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. See, when the weather, it does. So.
It does, mate.
And it was one of my old English teachers. I still watching. I'm sure sure it was. No longer with us, but I always kind of remember that. So things like that. But everybody deals with stuff differently in their own way. Like, I need a lot of guidance. I need a lot of pushing. Do you know what I mean? So, like, I watch a lot of videos on YouTube of these people like Eric Thomas, stuff like that, Joe Rogan, David Goggins, like little clips. Or sometimes at like night, if I'm feeling a bit down, I'll be like, motivation video. Might be only 4 minutes long, but it gives me a wee boost. And I'm like, right, I'm going to get them aura. And then when I wake up in the morning, I can't be arsed. I'm like, oh, fuck. So I give myself a task, and it might take me an hour to do that task, but once I know I've done that task, I've done the first task of the day, to then get up and do something else. It could be as easy as getting up and making my bed, or it could be as easy as hanging out that washing that I've done, which I've got a washing in the house now. It's been in the washing machine for about 12 hours, so I'll need to game and redo that. But things like that. So it's no, like Rocky says, like, life isn't all sunshine and rainbows. It certainly fucking isn't, mate. Do you know what I mean? Like, you have to push yourself. Do you know what I mean? Outside your comfort zone.
For sure. It's like, I feel like, based on what you were saying there, it's almost like you're winning these wee sort of decisions, these wee battles, mate.
Winning the small battles, mate, leads to winning the war. Do you know what I mean?
For sure.
100%.
If you can't win the small ones, you're never going to win the big ones.
You know what I mean? And the small ones are tough, though. Like, when I look at how far personally my journey, like, from in such a short space of time, for about a 1.5 to 2 year period, I was really low, like, really struggling with what had happened in my life, and people coming in and out of my life, and losing someone that was close to me, like, in a kind of tragic event. But from where I was then to look at myself now, it's like I'm still struggling to do some of the tasks which I could never do, like, back then. Like, I would lie in bed for like 3 days on end, lights off, door locked, buzzer in private, blinds shut, didn't want to talk to anybody, phone off, phone in a drawer, like, just lay there, like. Whereas now, like, I might struggle to get to bed some days and find it tough to face the world, but when I do, like, there'll be other days where I can get up and I'm out here today and I'm having a great time and I'm enjoying talking to you. But there's loads of people out there like that, mate, especially men. You know what I mean?
Sure.
There is, 100%. Mate. And they don't talk about it enough, man. That's one thing I must say, is just go and talk about it. Go and talk to your doctor or someone in your family. And if you don't want to talk to your family, definitely go talk to your doctor or something, man, because it helps around the corner. Do you know what I mean? That's one of the things that really helped me, having that great support network, having some good friends as well, like some great friends. Like, don't get many of them though. Like, it's one thing I must admit. I've got some really small group of friends who I would trust with anything. And then loads of people who, like, I know or spoke to or whatever. But having the right people around you, mate, I can't stress that enough, man. It's nectar, mate.
So would you say, you know, because you're so right, a lot of guys don't talk about this stuff, and I'm really glad we have touched on it, because it's such a important thing.
Yep.
You know, they see somebody, we're talking about how much success you've had.
Yeah.
But I said this in a podcast very recently where I was saying, whenever you achieve something, no one ever knows the amount of battles you've had to win to be there, from a personal point of view as well, and how much you've had to overcome to achieve that. And so when you're talking about stuff like this, I think that it's really important to, like, because when you're like that, like, see the end of last year in December, I'm pretty sure I was like, I was pretty much like, I'm done. You know what I mean? I was really, really, really bad mental state.
Yeah.
And just in the idea of, I don't think I can really do this again.
Yeah. The thing, and I can relate to that because of content creation. The thing that happens with content creation is you hit a wall. So you get to a wall where you're like, like I went through a period where my videos were getting like 2,000-3,000 views, and it's not all about the numbers in a sense, but of course it is, because you have to grow. And they were getting maybe like 200-300 views, and I'm like, what is going on here?
Mate, if you get me 3,000 views on this, I'll give you a whinge. Fuck's sake, this cunt.
But it's it's all about progression though, mate. And like I got to a stage where I'm like, oh my god, I was so struggling to get to 1,000 subscribers and stuff, right? Really struggling. We got 20,000 videos and views in a video at the very start of the season. Struggled to get 1,000 subscribers. I'm like, right, like I was doing my nutting. I was trying. I was constantly at it. And then I took a step back and I went, right, you know what? Forget about it. Just continue what I'm doing. Came like that. Literally came like that. And then now we've flew up to whatever 10,000 over the course of the year, which has been great. But it's like, when you hit that wall, it's about knowing like how to just kind of kick it fucking down, mate, and just get on.
Never been that good at kicking them.
I know, mate. I keep. I know. I just
can't help it.
I know.
Like,
to be fair, they're really good, mate. Actually, they're really good. But you know what I mean. Like, knock the wall down and. Can't believe you, mate.
I just think that
no, they're good, mate. They're good. You can use them later on. I'm sure the guys will appreciate it as well.
I just think that many people, when you're in that space and you feel like you're going to just give up in life and your video anxiety, you can't get out of your bed, you don't want on the blades, all this stuff, it feels like you can't win. It feels like
100%, mate. That's exactly what it feels like. You just can't win. You can't get a break. It's like getting that break. You're like, how do I get this break?
What was the first step for you? Like, see when you're having days where you're in your bed all day, the blinds are shut, nothing's going on. What is it that actually was the first thing that got you really actually moving and taking action? Because when I think back to myself, I go, well, why did I feel so low? What is it that I felt really low about? I felt low about the fact that I feel I've got a purpose in life. I feel like I've got like a mission that I accomplished before all was said and done. And I wasn't doing that, mate. I was sitting, doing things that were not good for me all day, every day, and not working on this, not watching Celtic games, not even doing it of any sort of note.
Aye.
And that correlated into one of the worst 6-month periods for my mental health in terms of the way it declined, because I wasn't doing those wee things. I wasn't winning those wee battles.
Looking back, it was a really kind of tough time. Can't really remember the first steps, but I know like talking about it was great. My mum works within the health industry, so speaking to her, she's more or less an expert and all that kind of stuff, and she gave me some advice, and then I went and took that advice to somebody else, because sometimes chatting to your family about something, you're not wanting to give your mom a burden or whatever, and should have spoke to one of my mates as well. I just spoke about it, and I didn't tell him all the details. I just told him, listen, I'm really struggling. I'm in a really bad place now. I'm not feeling great. I'm going through this. I'm going through that. I'm anxious about this. I can't do this. I can't do that. Didn't tell him everything that was going on. But see the difference you felt. Oh my God, mate. It was as if you'd Carter Vickers in your back for an hour and you just get rid of him. Honestly, it was the weight relief was just great. And then I don't want to tell anybody how to do it. What worked for me is I took it very small steps. It took me about a year and a half to get out of that. Still obviously have your demons of really bad anxiety, or you have too much to drink at the weekend or something. You're like, oh my God, it ruins my routine. Things like that. I need to be very regimented in my routine now. There'll be 2 or 3 weeks where I'll have a great routine, and then I'll do one thing and I'll fuck it up, and then I'm like, I'm back to square, no square one, but it's like one step forward, 5 steps back.
Do you know, I love you said that, because I feel it does feel like that every time that you take a step backwards. It feels like you're taking 5 steps backwards, but I think it's important to remind you that 1 step backwards is just 1 step backwards. And
I think all the steps you've took forward. I think all the steps I've took forward from that point where I was.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
But it's like your mind messes with you that way.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I've missed the gym today, so I've basically fucked my whole week.
Yeah.
It's like,
I know
that's not true. Do you know, there's so much left to do. And I just think it's such an important thing to speak about, because it's such a relevant topic, of the idea that, the main point for me about all this, right, is that of course you're going to. There's two things I wanted to say. One thing is problem shared is a problem halved.
Correct, mate.
Which is basically what we just described there.
Well, there's 3 years, so.
Well, exactly. So it's all quartered into whatever you would consider. It's been three-way. We had a three-bow in here.
Yeah, right.
We're having the three-bow after the podcast, not during it. Right. But no. And the other thing is that when people. Oh, what was I going to say there?
I do apologise.
No. It's just that I think you have. Oh, I'm trying to think. Aye. So dealing with anxiety and stuff like that.
Yep.
People. So having actually processed something like it, what essentially happens is people going through that stuff think that they can't get past it. And what we are doing with this kind of conversation is showing them, if anyone's listening to this with anxiety, depression, or any sort of mental health issue, that it can be overcome. Because I can tell you, as early as 6 months ago, I was out the door, do you know what I mean? And now I'm sitting here with you and podcast is doing well. I'm
enjoying yourself, man.
I'm just enjoying my overall life. But I think the biggest thing for me has been trying to be present in the present moment. I'm not really thinking about what the podcast is like. See, I think my biggest issue was 6 months ago at the start of my sort of, or maybe 12 months ago now, because it was more like June last year. The start of my sort of decline began when I was thinking about, the big goals. Like, I want to get 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. I want to get more people do this and that, but you become so thinged by it that you feel like, there's no point now because I'm never going to get to that. But because you're focused so much on it, you're not actually focused on the day-to-day stuff that's going to get you there.
Yeah, no, like I said, it was more about me focusing on me, and then when I took that wee step back, I was like, next thing you know, it's there, and it's doing well, man. But
as soon as you put your head down and focused on it, you've smashed it. I fucking love that, mate. But see, just to finish, just to round up, I reckon we'd probably go back to Celtic just for the sake of it. In terms of next season, but we'd maybe do a couple of wee predictions.
Treble.
Yeah, treble, mate. Treble. Quadruple, obviously. No, so honestly, I can't look past this for the league, mainly because we seem really on the ball in terms of
business.
The scouting is what's exciting me. We're looking at Argentinian players, we're looking at players all around the world. And with the current financial state as well, it's not really ideal for Celtic to be looking in England because it's just too inflated, mate. Yep. So I think we're doing things smart. And as well, if you're being honest, look at the other side of the city. No, there's not much going on other than Ryan Jack and his affair, but other than that, there's just not much going on, mate. So that should give every Celtic fan optimism. But I mean, I think we've become quite accustomed to trebles, but it's important to remember how difficult treble actually.
Trebles are of course difficult, but if certainly in my lifetime, if you're not hoping Celtic are going to win the treble or expect Celtic to go out and win a treble, or have that belief, that Celtic can go and win a treble, then there's something wrong because Celtic have been so dominant recently. So to round up, my prediction next year, Celtic to win a treble. Now, whether that's a domestic treble or whether it's 2 cups and a cup in Europe or whether it's something or like a Europa League or Conference League or whatever, but I do think Celtic will win 3 trophies next year. I think Ange is too hungry to let that one slip again.
Not just hungry, he's starving.
Not just hungry, he's starving. No.
We're going to have a vlog at the Champions League?
Yes, mate. Champions League nights will be in.
That's going to
we'll be in our suits and stuff. It'll be a proper production. Champions League night, European night. So we'll get you on for a wee interview.
I would love to do that, man.
Mate, of course.
And hopefully at some point during this season, I'm hoping that the Celtic Powership football team will be signed sealed. Our season starts in October. So,
I'll come along and do one. I'll come along and definitely do a video for you, mate.
I've been honestly working at this so much. It's so exciting, but I've really enjoyed this conversation with you, mate. I appreciate it at the time.
It's been an absolute pleasure, mate. I've had a great chat. I think this is the first time I've kind of opened up and spoken about myself, which has been great because I feel like I trust you enough to have a wee blather about it, and hopefully if anybody at home is hearing it, they've got to know me more, maybe just outside of YouTube, which is cool. And if people appreciated that, then great. If they didn't, then I'm sorry to hear that. But it's been an absolute pleasure to come on, and thanks for asking, mate, and thanks obviously for giving up your time and stuff like that to have me on, mate. Been a pleasure, mate. So just this is a YouTube bit, right? So make sure to subscribe to All About Ability podcast. Leave a like down below. Top man, thank you very much, mate.
Thank you, mate. I really appreciate it.
No problem, mate.